New on Curiosity Stream. She was a loving wife, a devoted mother. She also stole atomic secrets and gave them to the Soviets. Meet the woman whose deception kick-started the Cold War on the spy who stole the atom bomb. And
what if they catch you?
Then I shall be shot.
They're coming! Come back!
relive history's most death-defying escapes. It's Impossible Escapes, Civil War. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Hey, Ola, it's Miles. Thank you guys for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast.
Have you heard our newest podcast? It's called The Greatest Story Never Told.
Download it today on radio.com. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes are uploaded every Tuesday at noon.
Unfortunately, what you're about to hear is real. The members of this radio program are simply not that bright, or what some people would call educated. They are merely stupid. They're not trying to offend anyone on purpose. And all have played doctors on TV. You have been warned and are cordially invited to join the party. This is the Men's Room.
Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. The trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. You know what they say, shake your radio more than 3 times, and you're playing with it. You're listening to the Men's Room.
All right, away we go. Welcome to Season 16, episode number 3420. Along with Steve the Thrill Hill, the Ted Smith, and my cock, Montgomery. And you are the Men's Room. On tap today, it is a random question. Your guess is as good as mine. Categories: delicious pizza and living a healthy lifestyle. We will play Profile This. Plus headlines, Men's Room Shot of the Day, fun with listener emails, and everyone's favorite, TV Time with Ted.
Clack, Jiggity John.
All right, here we go to Cincinnati, where a massive shipment of Frosted Flakes makes people feel great. Meanwhile, a new thread about how long the sex should last is stirring some online debate. Oregon man has set a new record. Congratulations for how drunk he was behind the wheel. A woman killing time on Google Maps finds an island that makes her really want to squeal. And a Connecticut woman high on coke and PCP goes to McDonald's. That is all coming on today's very special episode of The Men's Room.
And now, here's the question.
Hola, bitches. Good day to you and yours. All right, you ever been convinced that you're going to die? And I mean, make no mistake, you're going to die. But I mean, have you ever thought you were going to die in that moment? Well, 241 people, they thought so over the weekend. They were on United Flight 328 headed to Hawaii. Then they heard an explosion, pulled up the shades on the windows, and watched as one of the engines burst into flames and started disintegrating. Good times. And while the passengers did not panic, let's just say the general consensus was that they were going to die. Good news, they didn't. Sorry, spoiler alert. Now, on the other side of the planet, a different plane had pretty much the same problem, so its engine burst into flames, disintegrate, fall to the ground. But this time, believe it or not, 2 people on the ground actually injured by some of the fallen wreckage. But again, no one died. And of course, not all of the I think I'm going to die moments involve faulty planes. An 11-year-old in San Francisco. Now, he thought he might die after an old man kidnapped him and threatened to, quote, put a bullet in his head. Why? Because the kid, along with a few of his 11-year-old friends, were playing ding-dong ditch, and let's just say they rang the doorbell. This old man ran out of his house, hopped in his car, drove them down, snatched his kid, put him in the car, and threatened to put a bullet in his head. Again, for ding-dong ditch. And then there's those moments when your life's not even in danger, but you actually kind of want to be dead, just out of the sheer embarrassment, like the man in Germany got his penis stuck inside of a dumbbell plate. at the gym.
Oh, no.
At the gym he was working out and not at home.
It was a 45.
At the gym, the fire department had to show up. He did not get taken to the hospital. The fire department showed up at the gym and spent 3.5 hours sawing it off of his penis. Again, at the gym. So like I said, he wasn't in danger of dying, but I bet you he wanted to be dead. These are just some of the stories that we saw, and they left us with many questions we'd like to ask you in the form of our random question, and this is how it works. You call us, we'll ask you a question that completes random, and after you share your story, we'll share with you the news story that inspired said question.
Be part of the big show, the Random Question. Call 206-421-ROCK. Like the Men's Room on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Men's Room Live. And send those emails to the Men's Room at KISW.com.
New on Curiosity Stream.
Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean you can't.
Watch Earth's greatest minds forge our path to a better tomorrow. It's engineering the future. And Jaws, Star Wars, The Godfather, E.T. The biggest movies have even bigger music. From King Kong to The Dark Knight. See how musicians scored Hollywood's greatest hits on great film composers' music of the movies. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Hey, all of it, y'all. Thank you so much for listening to the Men's Room podcast.
And thanks to our pals at the Advocates Law Firm for being great partners. Yes, even you, creepy Kyle.
Seriously, though, if you'd been injured as a result of somebody else in your car, on your bike, walking across the street, talk to our friends at the Advocates Law Firm and let them help you out.
Yeah, they're the best injury lawyers around, and they want to make sure that you're not taken advantage of. Plus, your first consultation is free.
It's simple. You get injured, the advocates get results. Contact them today at advocateslaw.com.
Back to the conversation. This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. 99.9 KISW.
All the Charles, and away we go. Welcome to season 16, episode number 3,420. Boy, oh boy, what a large and a charge program we have for you today. Guaranteed future repeat is once again the exciting return of your guest is as good as mine. I picked out a couple of categories of interest, I thought.
Okay.
So we have for you the top 10 pizza toppings that Americans love the most.
All right, that's interesting.
You would be shocked to learn that there was a National Pizza Day just last week. Whoa.
I knew there was.
Yeah, crazy thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the top 10 American favorite pizza toppings. By the way, opinions are split on the best type of pizza, though. First place might surprise you. According to the poll, the most popular type of pizza in 2021 is thin crust pizza. So that is overtaking the hand toss to the deep dish.
I'm fine with any of them.
I'm with you.
I'm really not picky about it.
But we have for you the 10 most popular pizza toppings. We also have the most hated pizza toppings. So there's a category for you. And if you're wondering, hey, should I go to the gym or maybe should I just get a pizza and stay home? Our other category is if you would like an active lifestyle, we have the top 10 cities.
You already lost me.
That you can be the fittest version of you in.
Yay.
All right. Those are your categories. Coming up with your guess is as good as mine.
You know, in theory, you're already the fittest version of you.
I mean,
you can change maybe how you want to do things, but right now, you are perfectly fit for you.
And most of the time, you're 18. You're 19 years old. I mean, very rarely do people keep getting fitter as the days go on. Like, I never remembered you with six-pack abs. Like, that's because I didn't have them in my 20s and 30s and 40s.
I'll tell you what, I hit 50, next thing you know.
Yeah, man, look at me. I'm all ripped up.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
How many people look better in their wedding picture versus the 20-year anniversary?
Yeah, no one says that. You look better.
Yeah. It's never happened.
Does that mean I look worse before or...
No one's ever heard that.
No.
There's no truth to that.
God, you look better.
The silence means, man, you've gone downhill.
You do all right. I mean, but, you know.
But you guys might look a little older, but it's not like you guys gained weight since your weddings.
Not really. I mean, and so far we're good on that. But another 20 years from now, look, I have not gained much weight since the wedding picture, but certainly when I look at it, all of the hairs in my beard are black. All of them. That's one giveaway. And just your face doesn't look as beat up. You know what I mean? Like, you just look younger. And it's just like, what the hell has happened? Then I'm like, oh, it's probably all the booze and stuff. But still,
Sure.
you just look younger.
Oh, my God.
I still looked better. That's
Ted,
my point. I've been gaining weight, but I'm much uglier now than I was that day.
Sometimes we'll go back and on the Greatest Story Never Told podcast, available at radio.com, which we do.
Oh, nice.
We'll have a new one out for you tomorrow, by the way. We'll play back something from Live 105.7 in Baltimore.
All right.
And we're all on there. And I mean, we all sound like we're absolute children. It is just.
Sure.
It sounds like we're part of the Mickey Mouse Club. Just like, who are these people?
Just even to listen to us talk. You know, I can't imagine. We probably looked a lot better.
I'm sure we did.
We didn't sound anything like that.
I had hair.
That's a fact. Yeah, it was like a weird time for all of us.
I had hair on my head, not on my face.
Yeah, strange. Today's the day we do our random question. Question 206-421-ROCK. Let's get the signal on.
Random.
Hello, Dylan. Welcome to the men's room.
Oh, what's up, guys?
Hola. Dylan, welcome to the program. Random question. How's the weekend, brother?
Oh, it was busy. I'm
Good.
a bartender, so I had to work all weekend.
Thank God you were working, man.
Hey, look, man, trust me. I know you might not have wanted to do it, and I completely understand that, but thank God for you.
Yeah. Where do you bartend?
I work up in Snohomish. It's a new restaurant that just opened called the Spada Farmhouse Brewery.
Okay,
right on First Street.
They have chicken wings?
Yeah, they don't.
Oh, tell them they're messing the whole thing up.
Yep.
You ain't got to have chicken wings.
Yeah. Pass it along.
Tell them if they do chicken wings, we'll drive up and have a beer.
But look, man, you're doing God's work, right? We've heard about the frontline workers. I know, nurses, doctors, right? People working in the grocery stores. Hey, good on you. Teachers, yeah, that's swell. Bartenders, mofos, that is where my money is.
Okay, Dylan, I'm going to go with this one because this seems like a natural. Maybe, I don't know how you address your guests at the bar, whatever the deal is, but do you in general have a problem remembering people's names who you just met?
Definitely no.
Really?
I'm pretty good about meeting somebody. You kind of associate something with them. Like, as a bartending, it's super easy with a drink.
Herpes, big nose, unibrow. Now, were you good at this before you were bartending? Because obviously bartending, that probably helps a great deal.
I worked at Starbucks for years before that, and just getting names and getting associated with people. Once I hear it, I can usually retain it pretty well.
Have you had the Starbucks experience where, I don't know if their name is weird or maybe it's spelled weird, you didn't take their name, you just get handed the cup with the name, and then you call out the entirely wrong name?
Oh, yeah. You just go for it and get a weird look. And
what's the worst one you think you've done?
I like the trashy spellings of like Michaela or Leah or whatever, and they're like I's and E's and G's, and it doesn't make sense.
And do they get indignant when they're like, it's Maya? Like, well, you don't spell it like everyone else on goddamn earth, you know?
Right. We have an alphabet that's supposed to work one way, and why...
You know what I hate? And not that I'm going to be upset about going out and running up a tab of booze and food by any stretch of the imagination at this point, but this one does get to me. So some servers will ring up their stuff either with a bar, they have their own name in there, whatever. Or they use somebody else's name that's already in the thing.
Yeah.
So typically when you get to bill, it'll say the name of the server that has been taking care of you. And once I say that name, then me being me, I'll go, let's just say that it says, hey, Robert, man, thanks for a great night, man. Appreciate the drinks and the food. And you go, my name's Dylan.
Right.
But on the tab,
why'd you put that on there?
Robert. Like, who's Robert? You're the only person working in here. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you do that?
People don't log out.
Just to mess with my head?
Accounts. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Have you ever had a description of someone that you forgot to take off of the receipt? Right, so a lot of times when you're super duper busy, and whether it's a restaurant or bar, and I hope most customers know this, but if you have, say it's a party of 6 or more, and you specifically have a very discernible feature, and maybe it's something you just don't want to bring up to anybody, but that is your nickname to the server up until you get out of there. And I know and I've worked in places where they kind of forgot to take that off, so it's these people go through and itemize their bill. They're like, who's ugly woman with the big nose? Like, well, you.
Right. If I think if I can figure out any kind of association with somebody, then I can put a face to the name. If I know somebody with that name, you know what I mean? If someone says, hey, man, my name's Leon, you're not going to forget it for the night.
I will, though. I know what you mean.
I mean, depending on the name, I think it's like if it's the name of Ted's brother or sister or my brother or sister.
But I think
like,
it's
I'll remember the name better, I think.
It's because I realize, and this is really bad, and I don't do it on purpose, but this is very naturally how I am, that you'll meet someone, they say their name, we are shaking hands, making eye contact, I'm introducing myself as well, and for whatever reason, a billionth of a second after they said their name, it's like, I don't know if I'm not listening or what's going on, but I'm like, I have no idea what they just said.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you meet people, too.
Maybe,
I met a new neighbor, but it was 8:30 in the morning. I didn't even have, a coffee yet. And I'm just like, I can't remember his name.
There's no chance.
What's up, new neighbor guy?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. And he's like, I'm blah, blah, blah. I know he's in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. I know his wife is an interpreter.
I just don't know
I have no idea what their names are.
I know everything about their life.
Yeah.
I get grief about this all the time.
I know where they get takeout from.
Because my wife gets mad at me because, the kids going to school and you meet 8,000 different sets of parents. Right. Some you like, some you don't, whatever. I mean, it's the average of anything, but she'll be telling me something like, oh, well, first she'll say the kid's name. And I'm like, I know the kid's name, and the son or daughter's class. Like, okay, I still can't picture who they are. Well, you know their parents. They're the ones who blank. And I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. Say, we had dinner with him 2 nights ago. I'm like, oh, that was his name. There are guys, the kids have been there for 4 or 5 years now, and there are 2 guys in particular that I am friendly with. Like, when we see each other, we will hang out. We'll go sneak a joint off school property, do whatever, man, sneak some hoot. Couldn't tell you this guy's name. Yeah. And every time he sees me, hey, what's up, Steve? I'm like, what's up, Playboy?
Well, I think it goes with sports, too, right? Like, we all go to a lot of sporting events when you could. But there's certain people, I know their faces. But if somebody said, hey, do you know, I don't know, Tom somebody, I'm like, I have no idea who that is. Like, and then they'll show me a picture.
Dude, I sat beside you, for an entire season.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, right. You always wears that hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, if you have a problem...
See him at the same beer garden every halftime.
Drink at halftime every week. Like, oh, that's his name.
If you always forget people's names, you probably won't remember this website either, but here it goes. It might help you. Flowingdata.com. They have a tool to help you guess someone's name. All you need to know is basically if you can remember the first letter of their name and get an idea of how old you think that person is, you can plug that in. So, for an example, if you're a man born in the 80s and your name starts with B, there's about 50% chance your name is Brian, Brandon, Brendan, or Ben.
I would go Brian and Brandon first based on mid-80s. If you're a dude and you're born mid-90s, say it starts with T, I'm going to guess like the Taylor.
Sure. Is there been anybody in the last 5 years, I mean, honest to God, born named Brian? I have 4 or 5 friends growing up named Brian. I just don't know if anybody who's had a little baby, here's Brian.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the name, but it's
Nothing's
not
wrong with the name.
You're right, because I'm thinking about my kids' school. To me, that's my gauge of things. I think about the kids whose names I can remember from the kids' school. And there's a couple Taylors and all that kind of crap, but I don't think there's any Bryans.
I know a couple little Bryans, but they're juniors.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, all right.
If you're a woman born in the 90s and your name starts with B, go ahead and give me the name. Because
Brittany.
That's 40% chance your name's Brittany.
All right. I know a Brittany.
Brianna,
I know a couple Brittnys.
Brooke is on the list as well.
Ooh, Brooke.
Yeah, Brooke.
Yeah, if you're in the 90s and your name is beginning with D, the name will be...
It's a boy or girl?
40% of the time, boy.
Derek.
Dylan.
Yep.
Dylan.
Yeah. And they say it's fun to play around with, even if you don't need to remember someone's name. Just Google Flowing Data Name Guess. So, example, here's a weird one. If you're a woman born in the 50s with a Q name, your name is almost 100% Queen or Queenie.
Queenie, I've heard. I mean, Queen Latifah, I know who she is, but I've heard Queenie, but I assumed that was a nickname.
But if you were born after 1990, there are no feminine Q names. Your name is probably Quinn.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
all right, Miles, here's one for you, just based on our age, all right? When you're in school, there are 2 girls. One of their names begins with the letter W. I knew probably 4 of them growing up. No, not that old, Ted.
Wanda, W. I don't know if I know anybody.
Wendy. How many Wendy's did you know growing up?
I do know a couple Wendy's.
Right, but not now. I mean, if I know them, I still know them, but they're not new. And then if you were a chick and your name began with the letter S when I was growing up,
Sarah, probably.
Susan.
Yeah,
I knew like
Suzanne.
500 Susans or Suzanne, right? 8 million Wendy's. I still know a lot of women with that name, but they're all my age.
But also knew a lot of Lauras.
Laura's never gone away.
Pretty before Lauren came to be popular. It was like Laura was the popular name. There was a lot of Kims.
Believe it or not, Karen was huge. But
Lisa.
God, tons of Lisas.
Yep. Michelle was a big name.
I feel like Michelle will never, Michelle to me is like John. There's not necessarily a ton with that name, but it'll never really go away. But God, Brittany was huge for a while, man.
There's so many guys named Mike or Tom that I went to school with or grew up with. Tim's, Jim, Jimmy, Robert. Old names, classic names, but names that you just
But no one had a cool name.
No.
You didn't get the Taylors or the Hunters or the Pilot.
Right, no.
You were Brian, you were Robert, you were Greg. That was it.
I rolled up with 2 kids playing golf yesterday. It's like, Brendan and Dylan. I'm like, I know, man. 90210. I know what your parents were doing when they're,
Yeah, my buddy's got a...
Get a little dirty with you.
16-year-old Dylan. Or like my niece is a Maddie, but like I feel like everybody
was a Madison.
Has a niece that's a Maddie or has a daughter that's a Maddie.
Mm-hmm. Or a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the other play.
I wouldn't say that to her.
Well, I wouldn't tell her that. I would tell her that you said that, but I wouldn't say
that. More than a question coming up. Oh, man. I've got one in the family. I can't even bring it up because it's a sore spot.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you the name in a second. More than a question. Cut Bailey. 206-421-ROCK.
New on Curiosity Stream, she was a loving wife, a devoted mother. She also stole atomic secrets and gave them to the Soviets. Meet the woman whose deception kick-started the Cold War on the spy who stole the atom bomb. And
what if they catch you?
Then I shall be shot.
They're coming! Come back!
relive history's most death-defying escapes. It's Impossible Escapes, Civil War. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Oh, drat. I was driving along minding my own business when that vulgar leech hit my Beamer with his pickup truck. I fear I've fractured my clavicle.
I say, old boy, don't simply put it in the hands of your insurance company to sort it out. Talk with the dedicated road solicitors at the Advocates Law Firm.
Pipe down, you old sod. The Advocates will see your case through to the bitter end and won't sleep a fortnight until they have victory in their grasp.
Jolly good, old man. Jolly good indeed. You get injured, the Advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
The men's room is in progress. 99.9 KISW and KISW HD1 Seattle.
That is our random question. Question 206-421-ROCK.
We were talking about names, right? Like a website that helps you remember people's names. Already forgot the name of the website. But we're also saying just certain names. I guess the premise is if you can get the first letter and roughly the decade they were born, you got to find, if that's a chick, she's born in the 90s, her name begins with the letter B. What is it, 40 or 50% chance it's Brittany? Mm-hmm. My cousin, who was born in the 90s, her name is Brittany. I mean, it all falls into place. Well, we talked about the name Brian. So someone here says, my name is Brian. I was born in 1966. My best friend was also Brian. He was born in 65. Our good friend growing up, also a Brian, born in 1967. Mm-hmm. That was the big Brian years.
Or Brad, maybe, at that point in time?
I knew one Brad, only one Brad.
It just seems like the
cool
60s,
name.
Brad, Brian.
And then as far as we're saying, like the guy who called, he said at one point he worked at Starbucks. We said, you ever just call it the wrong name because the spelling is ridiculous or whatever. So someone here says, I coached my daughter's basketball team in junior high. Out of 10 girls, 4 of them were named Megan, and all of them spelled it differently.
Mm-hmm. Random.
What's this H doing in here?
That's what I've seen. Megan, then Meg Han, right? The other Megan. Those are the only 2 I know.
Is there one with a Y?
Megan?
And like a G?
I think they've all got a G.
See, that's the problem.
Well, yeah, the G.
That part's important.
That helps.
Right. Sometimes MEA, sometimes MEG.
Sometimes it's all A's.
Yeah.
Oh, MAGAN.
Yeah. Magan.
Yeah. I'm Magan. I'm looking for Magan.
I'll tell you whose name, and I see it all the time, is that Congresswoman that's big on QAnon and all that stuff.
Marjorie.
It's Marjorie, but for some reason the spelling of her, maybe I just don't know how to spell Marjorie. But I'm always like, Majoran.
Call her Madge.
The Mandalorian. Right. Who is this woman?
How do you say her name?
Yeah, Marjorie. Hello, Trevor. Welcome to the men's room.
What's up?
Hola. Trevor, welcome to the show. Random question. What do we got for you? All right, Trevor. Let's go with this one. Trevor, what was offensive or controversial from your childhood, as far as like music or television show, depending on how old you are? I mean, maybe you weren't allowed to watch Beavis and Butthead or South Park or whatever the deal is. For us, it was like, in my world, it was the band KISS. And Speed Racer, I wasn't allowed to watch because the cartoon was a little
Speed Racer?
It was pretty violent, apparently.
Speed Racer?
I was like 4 or 5 years old. I wasn't allowed to watch
Speed Racer?
I was pissed off, too.
I mean, my God.
It's just hard to put up a good argument when you're 4.
Well, Kiss, yeah, exactly. Make it believe he spits real blood. It's like, Mom, I'm pretty sure he's not spitting real blood. That's what I've heard. And
it's real blood.
And what? We just got phone dog.
Oh, we did. Okay.
And what Kiss for a while apparently stood for Kids in Satan's Service.
All right.
Then they said the 2 S's in Kiss look a lot like the SS from Nazi Germany. We were like, yes, 3 out of 4 members are Jewish, so I'm not saying that's not what it is, but I find it highly unlikely
probably
that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Then it went from there to, and my parents, thankfully, never had a problem with that kind of crap. It was like, whatever. But I remember growing up after Kiss, it was like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. Because apparently they were encouraging kids to commit suicide. Because I said, yeah, there's no better business model than hoping that the people that give you money die. That's very smart. Stick with that. Then it became rap. So rock became okay once rap came out. Because God forbid black people say anything important to them, right? They freaked out. And now what's funny is you fast forward, and all these songs that people freaked out. I mean, you're not going to take it from Twisted Frickin' Sister, some crap from Run DMC. And I can watch a car commercial, and all of those things that were so controversial, now it's buy a Cadillac.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like,
buy tampons.
Right, like, some of the rap stuff, it was like, you shouldn't be listening to that, this and that. Now it's like soccer mom music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, when I was a teenager, it was like, we had to, like, sneak out to go listen to it.
Oh, absolutely. It was the big Tipper Gore blew her lid years ago. So, back in the days when you did things like buy CDs or records, they had the sticker, the parental, you should know there's cussing or whatever the case is. And it was Prince, right? So Tipper Gore, former second lady, vice president's wife, whatever. She bought her daughter, whatever Prince album it was, with literal red Corvette on. And like most parents, I mean, I'll buy my kids music, no idea who the artist is, do not care. But Tipper Gore did the thing that I never do, which is sit down and listen to it with her. So Prince starts singing, and it was a line about little Nicky sitting in the hotel lobby, masturbating with a magazine. That was the line. Tipper Gore lost her mind. Went to Congress, and that's when the PMRC, the Parents Musical Resource Center, that became a big thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember when they had these big court trials, some of the luminaries fighting on behalf of the musicians, it was Blackie Lawless from W.A.S.P., Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. But keep in mind,
Rob Halford.
These are the people fighting in their behalf, and John Denver. Mm-hmm. Seriously. Nobody expected John, but he used to say, hey, I don't like the censorship stuff, fellas.
There was a couple, and this was, one was like from the 60s. I do remember this. Because I walked into a party, and there was a bunch of guys on the football team who were playing this because they got a copy of it. And it was a movie called Down on the Farm.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which is a bestiality movie.
Yeah.
And it was on VHS. And like in a box. And you could buy this thing. And
they sold it everywhere.
I'm not kidding you.
It was one of the first porns we saw. It was one of the, it was like a rite of passage. Like, look at this. And it's awful.
I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm like, what in the hell are you guys? And they're all just cowering. And they're like, oh, God. Like, we got to watch it. And the other one was Faces of Death.
Yeah.
Which was this documentary series of VHS, weird ways that people had passed on, right?
But they showed you the footage.
And just crazy things from, around the world. Like, they showed this restaurant where you ate live monkey brains.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of the dinner. Like the monkey was basically.
Yeah.
There was a guy who parachuted into a alligator farm in Florida.
I mean, it's not funny. He didn't do it on purpose.
Because the tourists are like on the deck, and then all of a sudden you just see this guy parachute in, and now it's the end of that.
Yeah.
That stuff was still going around when I was in high school. But
the fact that you could just order it.
Yeah.
Whether you liked it, like it was just available. Like you did not have to sneak it. It was like order now, and you can stay on our list, and we put out Faces of Death Part 10.
Mm-hmm.
You get the advanced copy.
I always say this. I still think the craziest thing is just like when you're like a teenage boy and stuff. Like if somebody got a porno, we would all sit around and watch it together.
Like I said, it's weird.
It's so awkward. I can't maybe in my early 20s we still do, but like I can't imagine inviting you guys over and being like, yo,
dude, have you seen this brand new? I just got it yesterday.
Yeah.
Or before you called your buddy like, we're putting it on at 8. Mm-hmm. If you're not here, man, you're just right. There's like 6 of us. Like, yeah.
Also, people now are kind of used to going websites to find porn.
Sure.
So, like, you're used to all these, like, weird phrases and terms. But back then, like, you weren't. And I remember I had a roommate show up with, I can't say what the term is for something, but it was just like 40 of these. We were like, what does this term even mean? Yeah, it was a lot.
They had there was a lady that I did.
He
not,
did that one, by the way. I found it behind the couch. It was like, what are you into?
Wow. There was a lady in our county, I'll say, and she was in. Oh God, man! It was what was the. I don't know if I can say the name, but it was in the back of either Hustler.
It was Hustler.
It was Hometown Hotties or Honeys or
was it the Hunt or the?
You know what I'm talking about? Yes, it was one of those.
No, we can't say
listen,
it, but I know exactly.
I can't tell you.
Oh, was it like an animal hunt?
It builds dams,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Cuts down trees.
But that's what it is.
Hey, leave it.
Right, exactly.
Leave it to them. But husbands just send in like Polaroids, and they'd be reproduced.
So the big rumor around town was that, she was in there. You know what I mean? Because there's like Polaroids and stuff like that. So, of course, everybody got a copy. This was...
Was she? Was it her?
Yeah, she... And you know what? Based on the submissions that month,
yes,
she looked great.
It was kind of.
You got to remember, man. I mean, like it wasn't all good,
right? Because these weren't. This was a guy that said, "This is my wife." I took a picture of the Polaroid and I sent it to you. Now, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like some people, we universally agree are good looking. This was not always the case, and it's just picture like when you were growing up. You always had a friend who had a hot mom. Mm-hmm. And then you had a friend who had a real ugly mom. Well, picture the ugly mom and the good-looking mom. They both end up in here, and they're both just naked, and it was hitting me. Although,
like my buddy Pat, okay,
not all hunts are successful.
So my buddy
Pat, is true.
My buddy Pat is Catholic,
an ugly animal,
and the way that he was raised Catholic was very strict. But his priest was sex was okay. All right. Sex and liquor were okay. Like he could have a nip with him. You know what I mean? When he was 16, 17 years old, porn wasn't the biggest deal in the world. But his parents, the rule was Playboy and Penthouse. So in other words, if I find a magazine in your room and it's Playboy or Penthouse, I'm going to give you a pass. But you know what you should not have. So that was
that's the stuff
anything
you wanted.
That wasn't Playboy and Penthouse. That was like Wii and Jugs and all these.
Actually, I know, it's just amazing. They just named it that.
But the thing about stuff like Jugs and
Skank
Mayfair.
Or Swank.
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 It could have been called that. Because, Playboy, it's like, pretty standard stuff. Penthouse is a little more involved. But once you got to the other stuff,
oh man,
you started learning things,
Mm-hmm.
Just like, whoa, I did not know people did that.
Yeah, that was not good.
That's what Club International, Cherry. Mm-hmm. By the way, Jugs was awful. Mayfair was awful.
Oh, those were all out of England, though.
I was going to point out, and nothing against our English friends, but when it comes to porn, your homegrown material was horrible. Jugs should have been called areolas.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, seriously, man. Even as a kid, you're like 12 years old, so any porn is good porn, but even when someone's like, you want to take Jugs home, you're like, nah.
Yeah, but,
seriously, the Sears catalog was better.
But what is controversial now, compared to what you grew up with, is not something that you think about. So we can pinpoint all this stuff and go, okay, look. Those were things that our parents would say, look, you can't do that. I don't want you involved in that, whatever. The things that are really controversial in retrospect is always something that's just completely mainstream that you would have never thought about at the time. So one of my favorite shows growing up was the Dukes of Hazzard. Now, here's this car, they're called the General Lee.
Right.
With a Confederate flag on top.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite television
Well, they're
show.
just good old boys.
Well, they're just, never meaning no harm. You know what I mean? Just,
it's all you ever saw.
White, you're good. But that would be the type of thing now where you'd say, like, look, man,
it would not fly now. I mean, if you introduce that car, it's like, well, we're okay with the premise of the TV show. You got to get rid of the flag. Like the things that become controversial now, though, it's more comments of individuals, but no thing in particular. And so it's not like this movie's controversial, but this actor in the movie 3 years ago said this, and now it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So now it's almost like individuals become controversial. Maybe what they stand for and all that kind of crap, but not the body of the work itself. Yeah, there might be a guy in a band that says something pisses you off, and maybe the band pays the price, like it did with Creed, right? Scott Stapp is an a-hole. People stopped buying Creed, but no one hated Creed in among itself.
I can't remember if it was Chevy Chase. I know Garrett Morris dropped an N-bomb on SNL. Mm-hmm. Just in skits, a couple of them.
Well, probably better him than Chevy Chase.
Well, I know, that's what I mean. I can't remember.
Just all things being equal.
Like, they were going back and forth about something, but it was a skit. Like, you call me this, and I'll call you that, and a cracker. And then, and then somebody just drops the N-bomb. You're like, Jesus. You know what I mean?
But that's what's amazing, because when we're growing up, hey, don't listen to kids because they're satanic, but watch All in the Family and Jefferson. Where they're dropping N-bomb, and it didn't matter if you're black or white, both sides are dropping it equally.
Yeah. It's like, could you imagine buying a classic car, right? Maybe I want to buy like the Smokey and the Bandit car, right? Or I want to buy the General Lee car. It's not that the General Lee car isn't worth money now.
It's just
You don't want to be driving that car.
You don't want to be driving that car now. I don't care if anybody can see that.
Yeah. And sometimes, too, with language in certain songs, it just matters where you grow up.
Sure.
Like some people, there's just, unfortunately, there's not enough people there to be like, don't sing that lyric.
Yeah, I was going to say, based on where you grew up, Ted, I meant rap wasn't like, oh, go ahead, sing. Maybe not you. But
the reason we asked what was offensive or controversial.
I'm going to take a play off.
From your childhood. Anyone who streams the Muppet Show on Disney Plus will see a disclaimer first now warning of potential offensive content. They released 5 seasons of the show featuring, Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie the Bear, and all that stuff. Disclaimer shown prior to each episode.
I don't know why you paused after Kermit. I was like, are you about to say something racist about Kermit? Like these damn green people.
Exactly.
Frogs.
Disclaimer
Shamrock
shown.
mother.
No, it's getting close to St. Patty's Day, isn't it, Kermit?
Yeah. Well, disclaimer
green mother.
Shown prior to each episode warns viewers that the show features stereotypes and mistreatment of people of cultures. Well, Miss Piggy is an oversized woman who likes to eat a lot. I mean, right there, that doesn't really,
But also, she's a pig.
Right.
I mean, is she supposed to be attractive?
She's supposed to be hot. I mean, the idea is that she was a sex symbol still trying to do her thing. Because at least in her own mind, right? Look, put it this way. As a child, when I watched this, I understood or I believed that she believed that she's like the Zsa Zsa Gabor of the time, right?
Yep.
And that was her role in the Muppets. But I never equated that to women in general because in my mind, like, well, she's a pig and it's obviously make-believe. She's a pig.
They say rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, spark conversations, create a more inclusive future. Disney's committed to creating stories of inspirational aspiration. It's unstated precisely what Disney considers to be offensive on the show, but some characters are depicting Native Americans, Middle Easterners, and Asian people. Season 5, here you go, Johnny Cash is performing on the Muppets, but he's doing it in front of a Confederate flag. The warning also
What's kind of Johnny Cash? I mean, like, that's not the Muppets.
Right.
You would think if it were
that's what I'm saying.
Problem
You
to
bring
Johnny, I feel like Johnny could probably tell the Muppets, like,
okay,
I'm not okay with this.
But if we go back in time, what was the controversial album? It wasn't controversial. It's just the fact that the guys had the butts of Two Live Crew.
Oh, God, yeah.
That whatever it was. It wasn't a big deal. Either way, if you brought that home, or Leonard Skinner, which has a Confederate flag on the front, your parents would look at the butts and go, what is this? You know what I'm saying?
That was the one.
That's the one. Not the other thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
oh, my God, they're showing asses. Well, that's kind of what they're about.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't believe, I feel like the Muppets.
Is that the Two Live
Look, this is what they should do with the Muppets. Like, if you're going to do this, make sure it's before each episode you say specifically. Because now I'm interested, right?
Well, they did it to all the Bugs Bunny stuff. They basically just took it all out.
Right, they did that years ago, and then but they've re-released some of the unfiltered stuff. So it's pretty thick, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm watching this with my kids. All right, so they discovered Bugs Bunny, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, whatever. And I'm cool to watch Bugs Bunny anytime. I still think it's hilarious. So we're watching it, and the things that are just overtly racist or remarkably sexist, like. The kids don't pick up on that. They really don't, because at least they wrap it in a joke. The one that gets me was it Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, right? So Rudolph has now disappeared with the little whiny elf dude, the dentist wannabe, and Yukon Cornelius and all this stuff, okay? So the dad, who I think is Donner.
Yes.
All right. So the father, at this point, now realizes the error of his ways because he's insulted his own kid. The kid ran away from home. It's fatherly guilt, whatever. So the snowstorm's coming. And he's going to go out, and I'm going to go look for Rudolph. And his wife says, I'm going to go with you. And he looks her right in the eye and says, this is a man's work. And I'm just like, oh, God.
But you're a deer.
Like, Jesus Christ.
First of all, you're a deer.
Yeah.
You're not a man.
But wait, he went out with Santa. Like, Santa showed up, so like the dudes are like, yeah. This is a guy thing.
Well, remember we played the audio a couple weeks ago of...
I mean, but it's just...
Get out of here, woman.
The first 2 seasons of the
Lady
Flintstones... the first 2 seasons, the Flintstones were sponsored by Winston cigarettes. So, they would be smoking during the show, and then they would be smoking when they went to the 30-second commercial break.
But the worst part is, as they're puffing, and it's just the two of them puffing on cigarettes, And Barney mentions to Fred, like, man, oh man, look how hard our wives work. And they're like mowing the lawn and doing all this crap.
They're just sitting back smoking cigarettes. So it's already a sexist commercial.
But then he says, this is his favorite part. He goes, boy, it sure is hard watching them. Instead of them getting up to help, they move to the backyard. And keep smoking.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
What a day.
What it is. We'll just relax. Let the women do the work, and we'll enjoy the smooth, full-flavored taste of a Winston cigarette, Fred. It's amazing.
Hey, NASCAR used to be the Winston Cup.
Yes.
Yeah, but you expect it there. When I'm a kid and I'm watching the Flintstones, it's a little bit different than watching, I don't know, Buddy Baker with a dip in his mouth and a smoke coming hanging out of each corner of his lip. You know what I mean?
You got to start him young, Miles.
I mean, that was Earl.
Hey, Fred.
Earl Campbell was one of the greatest running backs ever in the NFL during the 70s, and he was the biggest spokesman for Skull.
Yeah.
So you'd watch, it was him and Walt Garrison. This guy was playing for the Dallas Cowboys. You're like, I don't know if I don't feel like lighting up. You know what I mean? I'll just give me a 10 Skull.
Yeah.
And
I want to smoke, but I'm an athlete. So I'll just put the
Earl Campbell's like, Skull, brother.
Yeah, Skull, brother. Oh, dude, that was his tagline.
Because brothers love Skull.
Dude, that was his tagline at the end of it.
Skull,
whatever else he said, Skull, brother.
Yeah. And Walt Garrison's like a lot of you out there, I know you like to go smokeless every once in a while.
Was he the dude that had the commercial where he's like getting out of the hot tub at the training facility? He's got a dip.
I think so, yeah.
Hey, like a lot of you out there are going to smoke.
Mike, if you can find Earl Campbell's Skull, just so you can hear the Skull, brother. Oh, yeah, that was the tagline.
How do we get black people to like smokeless tobacco?
Get Earl Campbell, call them brother. And bam, it worked.
Look, when you brought it up, the first person that comes to mind is Warren Sapp, because it was always kind of like, he actually dips.
More of the random question coming up, 206-421-ROCK.